Hey everybody, this is going to be a little bit more of a deep dive into actually how I performed the microtonal music for my Christmas lo-fi hip-hop video. The first system that we're going to check out is 24-tone equal temperament. I got that by tuning two keyboards a quarter tone apart. You can hear this, the major scale and the major scale down here. If you play them both together, it sounds extra spicy. Woo! Now the whole idea with this, of course, is you can play your regular 12-tone music up here and then switch back and forth between the two systems. And there's this kind of like chromatic seasickness that always kind of sets in if you do this too much. And the feeling isn't super pleasant, it's somewhat nauseating. But that can be mitigated, I've found, by using more complicated and richer jazz harmony. So if you're using chords like, say, a D minor 7 flat 5 with a natural 9 on the top keyboard, resolving that to a G7 with a flat 9 and a flat 13, that resolves quite nicely on the bottom keyboard to what you would normally resolve that chord progression to, like, say, a C6-9 chord. Listen to that in context. That seasickness feeling, I feel like, is not there as much when you're using the richer jazz harmony. It still sounds weird and strange, and I think that's the point of it. But in my experience, this alternating between the two keyboards works best in context where the harmonic vocabulary is already fairly rich and you're not shifting between the two keyboards very quickly. The advantage, of course, of this is that your muscle memory that you've already developed over the course of learning how to play piano on these two keyboards is already there. So all of the fingering patterns, they all make sense. It's just a matter of going back and forth between the two keyboards. Now you could, of course, try and figure out ways of mixing and matching the two keyboards. Like, for example, it might work in context. I found that timbres like electric piano, which are a little bit less harmonically rich than regular normal acoustic piano, work better for this. And by the way, the program that I'm using for all of this stuff is called Pianotech. It's very pricey, unfortunately, but it's very powerful, and it's made life a lot easier when tinkering with different temperaments and getting the sounds in my ear. Also, and this is just a side note, it's pretty important to be able to, it's important to have a sustain pedal that's MIDI routed for both keyboards with this kind of setup. So you could possibly play a chord on the top keyboard, then have time to shift down to the bottom keyboard, then have time again to shift to the top keyboard. And everything is just being controlled by the same sustain pedal. Anyway, where was I? Pianotech, yeah, Pianotech. Pianotech is important for the more complicated tuning systems, like 19-tone temperament, for example. Let me show you how that would work. Okay, so we're gonna load up an instance of Pianotech, and then we're going to go here to temperament, advanced tuning, going to equal, and then we're going to type, make equal temperament, very important. Then we're gonna type 19. What's happened here is 19 notes have been mapped to the 12-tone keyboard in order to get an octave. So an octave will stretch from here to here, which looks like a C and a G on a regular 12-tone keyboard. Now, obviously that's a problem because none of the muscle memory that I have on piano reflects this layout. If I was just to play something like, trust me, I know what I'm doing, but it doesn't sound like that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna map 12 of the 19 notes that we would want to have on the bottom keyboard, and then we're gonna take that remaining 7 and map them to the top keyboard. Now, fortunately for us, there are 7 white keys, so we can just take those 7 notes and map them to the 7 white keys up here. So this is what it will sound like. This is the major scale on the bottom keyboard. And this is the major scale on the upper keyboard shifted up by a 19th tone, I guess. Well, one step in 19-tone equal temperament. And then the other notes that will fit between everything are the black keys on the bottom keyboard. So these are all 19 tones. The advantage here is I can play pretty standard chord progressions using the same muscle memory on the bottom keyboard. It's just then I have these alternative notes up here in case I ever want to inflect something weird in 19-tone equal temperament. So for example, on the bottom keyboard, I could play a C major 7, like normal. But if I wanted to play like an A major 7 on the bottom keyboard, it might be a little bit problematic because the 3rd and the 7th sound very, very sharp. So the solution to this is we can borrow 2 notes from the top keyboard that won't sound quite as intense. That sounds a lot better to me. Now you can get some pretty cool inflections here. Like for example, this is an A major 7, but then you could shift these 2 notes of the A major 7 down instead of a half step like they would normally be in 12-tone equal temperament. You could move them down by, I guess, like, I don't know what we're calling it, a 3rd step. It's kind of a cool inflection. Weird stuff. I kind of like it. Like I said, I really don't have to relearn any muscle memory in order to do this stuff. The muscle memory that I already have is baked into this whole approach, which I find super useful. There are plenty of microtonal musicians who develop different keyboard layouts for different tuning systems, and that in theory is the best option, but at the same time for a musician who might be switching back and forth and might not necessarily want to completely devote themselves to microtonal music, I would prefer just to go with the regular old 12-tone keyboard. Anyway, the final temperament that I want to talk about is 17-tone equal temperament. And I think that actually maps to the 2 keyboards a little bit better than the 19-tone thing did. You can think about it like the 7 notes of the major scale, and then 2 different flavors of black keys. You got the lower flavor of black keys and the upper flavor of black keys. So if you're going to play the whole 17 notes per octave, it would look like this. Anyway, I found the most stable chords and the most stable harmony was kind of this sound. This is kind of like the default sound for 17-tone equal temperament. It's like a sus chord. It sounds really nice. Really nice, big and expansive and stable. The problem is with major chords, just listen to how a major chord sounds. No bueno. It's not something that your ear is naturally drawn to, so whenever you're working in 17-tone equal temperament, you're not going to be playing a lot of major chords. Now the reason is because this major 3rd is too wide, it's too sharp. If we go into piano tech, we see that the major 3rd is tuned to 423 cents, which is just not really that stable. Now what's really interesting, and this is something that I think is probably the coolest thing that I discovered when working with all of this stuff, is that you can adjust the actual timbre of the instrument that you're working with to better reflect the tuning system that you're using. So 17-tone equal temperament has this out of tune 3rd, right? We don't like this 3rd, bad 3rd, no. The problem of course is that a major 3rd is in the harmonic series. It's the 5th harmonic. Now the reason why this sounds so aggressive is because the 5th harmonic is present within that sound. But what you can do with synthesizers and also with piano tech is you can actually go into the sound and remove the 5th harmonic. It's a subtle detail, but it definitely makes everything smoother. Now let's hear it with the harmonic back in. It's a little brighter, but it is definitely more aggressive if you're hearing it with the major 3rd. So that's just an interesting little detail that I found when I was actually producing and listening to 17-tone over and over again. The whole thing just felt a lot smoother without that 5th harmonic in the piano sound. Anyway, like I was saying in the main video, I found that quartal and quintal voicings work the best. If I just played regular triads with God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, it would sound like this. It sounds fine. It sounds kind of just like an out-of-tune piano, which I guess, if you're thinking lo-fi hip-hop, I guess maybe that is the vibe, except it sounds a little bit too honky-tonk for my taste. Change each one of those chords to a sus4 voicing and immediately it sounds a lot smoother. If you want to get some rougher sounds in there, if you want to get some rougher sounds in there, one voicing I really liked was this one, which was kind of like an F major 7 in third inversion without its third, which sounds like this. If you put like a power chord on the bottom, it sounds really nice. Ooh, spooky. That smaller half step really has a bite to it, but it doesn't have the same like honky-tonk feeling, I feel like, as a major triad does. Anyway, those are just some of the insights that I had on working with these two keyboards and these microtonal Christmas songs. It was a lot of fun in the end because I was able to use a lot of the same vocabulary that I normally would in 12-tone systems, and using some kind of clever mapping tricks between the two keyboards, take that vocabulary and play music like I normally would. The performance challenges are honestly pretty significant when coming into this, so I don't really know if there's any good solutions. I did call at the end of the video for like a 19-tone piano roll to be implemented in Ableton Live, and that'd be amazing. I hope some people can take this idea of the two keyboards and run with it, because I think this is the best way for a trained musician who doesn't know anything about microtonal music to get into it. I really tried to learn how to like remap the keyboards in different ways to get chords. It was too much. It was just too much time and energy, and I felt like a lot more liberated to be able to play things already knowing where the major scale was. All the years of practice, all the years of intuition were just there. It was just subtle shifts could make those subtle microtonal things happen in a more natural way. So anyway, thanks for watching. Woo! Spicy.